This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and maybe you can hear the applause in the background for the Derry City team as they make their way off the pitch in Tallaght Stadium, having beaten Shamrock Rovers by 2-1. Coming up, reaction from both camps, and we'll get the analysis of former Derry City player Gareth McGlynn. As I'm speaking to you, Rory Higgins and Alan Reynolds and the management team of the Candy Stripes are walking off the pitch, and Rory Higgins is applauding the Derry City supporters. How big a victory could this prove to be? We'll find out as the season goes on. Elsewhere, Drogheda United beating Sligo Rovers by 1-0. Mark Rossiter will join us from Weavers Park. Neal Horgan will join us from Turner's Cross, where Cork City have beaten UCD by 4-0. Dundalk 5-0 victors against St Patrick's Athletic. John Flanagan, former Dundalk captain, will analyse that one for us. And in the First Division, Wexford beat Athlone 3-0. Waterford 1-0 losers against Galway United at the RSC. Johnathan Higgins of Galway Bay FM will join us to talk to us about that. While Kerry have got their first point as a League of Ireland entity. They drew 1-1 against Treaty United, while Finn Harps had to settle for a 1-1 draw at home against Bray Wanderers. Well, we did promise you analysis of this dramatic encounter in Tallaght Stadium. The Derry City fans beginning to stream out and head back to the northwest, and Gareth McGlynn, formerly of Derry City and tonight of BBC Radio Foyle side, they'll go back happy after a fantastic 2-1 win here in Tallaght Stadium.
Absolutely, brilliant result. It was an absolute brilliant game. I have to say, there was a massive crowd here, and they didn't go home disappointed. Obviously, Shamrock Rovers will be disappointed going away with no points. 2 points from the opening 3 games. They'll not be happy, but let's be honest, Derry City will be absolutely delighted. I think momentum's a big thing when you think about football, and Derry City definitely have momentum right now. Last week against Cork, they weren't vintage, but they needed to step up today against a good Rovers team. Before the match, there was a lot of talk about Rovers missing players, but you got to remember how many players Derry had missing. They had basically 4 first-team players missing, and it didn't show. Every player that came in, you saw Diallo, played an hour, played 70 minutes, he was out on his feet. He hadn't played in a long time. He hadn't played since before the cup final last year, and he was absolutely immense. The one worry that I would have, and Rovers will probably have the same, both sets of players put a huge amount of energy into that game. Monday night comes round quickly, and it'll be interesting to see who bounces back and is able to come back to Monday night with energy.
I'm sure those fans over on the far side as we look aren't worrying about Monday night at the moment. They'll be back in Dublin for that game against UCD. Let's talk about the goals. Now, sometimes when we talk about a match and we concentrate on the goals, that kind of is the story of the match. It's not tonight, but we'll talk about the goals and then we'll talk about everything else. The first goal came when Doherty went on the break, absolutely skinned the Rovers defence and took his goal wonderfully well. The equaliser came not long after an unusual goal. Derry City gave away a free kick. Shamrock Rovers played advantage. Neil Doyle refereed it perfectly. They did take full advantage. Derry stopped, Rovers didn't, came to Johnny Kenny, smashed it home. Then in the second half, the winning goal, a great cross in. I think it was Graydon who crossed it into Jordan McAniff, or Jamie Gonigle, I beg your pardon, who turned it home wonderfully. He loves playing against Shamrock Rovers, doesn't he? Loves scoring against them too. They were really, the goals were quality tonight.
They were absolutely brilliant. I mean, the first one was unbelievable. You got to remember Ben Doherty's playing left back. It's a corner that Shamrock Rovers had, and within 7 seconds it's in their own net. But it's a brilliant pass by Patching from almost inside his own ground, and he's put Ben Doherty through. But Ben Doherty has shown great pace they stride away from the 2 Rovers defenders, and he's taken that extra touch. He's shown the composure that you would expect from a striker, and he slotted away nicely. I agree with you, but once Rovers got the second goal, there's no question in my mind, from the 27th minute to the half time, they were much a better team, and Derry City had to change something. And I have to say, Rory Higgins is a master when it comes to the game of chess. He changed it in the second half. He played 4-2-3-1 and he nullified Burke and Byrne, and they were hurting him bad in the last 15 minutes of the first half. And then of course the winner, it was almost a carbon copy of that goal in the FAI Cup final, where Graydon gets down the right hand side, he puts a great ball in, and Jimmy McMonigle, he's sitting just off the penalty box, doesn't lash it into the corner, he just guides it right into the corner past Manus. Great finish, great goal. And then of course, as you can expect, with this crowd behind Rovers for the last 10 minutes, it was like a siege. Rovers were all over Derry.
It was a siege, but after they went 2-1 up, aside from that McElhenney block of that shot that was goal bound, Rovers didn't really create too many clear-cut chances. Derry, they sat back, but they looked comfortable doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Conley loves that. He loves a battle. And when Conley and McElhinney are sitting in there, they love balls high into the box or blocking box. They were really, really good tonight. The back four for Derry were excellent. And of course, the changes as well helped Derry. Boyce was brought on, fresh legs. McEniff did really well when he came on. But yeah, Rovers will be disappointed with the amount of chances that they did create. But again, they'll go back to the drawing board and hope they bounce back now on Monday night.
Try and put on a neutral hat as opposed to the Derry City ones that you have on at the moment. For Rovers, they have a lot of new players involved, and tonight they were missing like Cleary and Lopez and Grace. Does that mean they can bounce back from this a bit easier? And the second part of the question is, do you think when they do gel, they'll still be a force to be reckoned with?
Absolutely. You don't have a squad like that they can't bounce back. The one thing I will say is Lopez is a huge miss. He is the marshal. He is the captain when it comes to the defence. He talks. He organises. He is vocal. So he's a huge miss. I think he's back on Monday night if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's back on Monday night. So I think that'll sort the defence out. But when you've got the quality players that Rovers have, it's always going to take time to gel. But they got to start gelling quickly because Derry are already 5 points ahead of them. But it's too early to discuss who's going to win but there's no doubt about it. Rovers can go on a 15-game unbeaten run. There's no doubt about that.
How big a victory is tonight for Derry City? And allow yourself to get carried away.
No, we'll enjoy it, but we'll know that it means nothing this early in the season.
Did they have to win tonight? Does it take pressure off even this early in the season?
No, definitely not. No, when you look at the players, I mean, Derry are missing 4 first-team players. I think if you had started this game, Rory would have taken a draw, but that's not in his nature. He's an aggressive, forward-thinking manager, and he would have been coming here, smelling a little bit of blood with the centre halves missing, and he got us just rewards.
Are we looking at the top, or have we seen the top two tonight in your opinion?
Well, funny, I thought Pats did really well against Derry the first game in the season, but they got thumped today by Dundalk. So in that regard, you're probably talking about these two. But there will be somebody coming out of the pack. It will be either Bohs, Dundalks and Pats. They will put a run together. But the standards that Rovers have set for so long, it's very difficult to continually maintain those. And it's always up to the other pack to be ready whenever Rovers drop their standards.
Gareth McGlynn, formerly of Derry City. Before I let you go, one last question. How happy are you tonight?
A 10 out of 10.
Gareth McGlynn, thanks for joining us on the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Enjoy your trip to Belfield on Monday night as Derry City take on UCD, and enjoy the journey home tonight.
Definitely will, and all those fans will as well.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and I'm joined just beside the pitch by Shamrock Rovers head coach Stephen Bradley. Stephen, a 2-1 defeat to Derry tonight. What are your thoughts on the game?
Disappointed with the result, obviously, but really liked the performance and large aspects of the performance. I thought we played really well at times, created a lot of opportunities. So like I said, disappointed with the result, but really liked large aspects of the performance. Is
it just one of those nights where you have to accept just kind of didn't fall your way, but you did create chances, you did pressurise them, and that's kind of the stuff a manager wants to see? Everything else will kind of follow.
Yeah, we're fine. I think we're obviously disappointed in there. We've lost the game. We don't like losing. But I felt we were first half by far the better team. Second half was more even, but we created a lot of opportunities. We had one cleared off the line. We had two cleared off the line. Sorry, I thought we were very good. Some of our play was really good. We showed real pace and power in the final third, and another night we win the game. Did we get a glimpse of what Johnny Kenny can do tonight? Yeah, I think so. I think last week he's disappointed he didn't score. But we know the opportunities we create, Johnny will score, and tonight his finish was brilliant. But we know Johnny will score goals for us. Does he just need games? I said it to someone up there in the press box. He could Sean Maguire this league if he gets going, and he looks like a kid who has that talent and could. And he's only 19, and he hasn't played a whole pile of football before coming back here. Yeah, he just needs time. I think we demand a lot of our centre forwards. It's not just about standing in the box and hoping the ball falls here. We demand a lot, and Johnny's getting used to that. But I thought you seen tonight and last week he's shown real positive signs, and you put him in goal and he's a finisher. How much of a disadvantage was it to be without Cleary, Lopez and Grace? I don't think there's any team out there who wouldn't miss players like that. Yeah, well look, that's the way it goes. That's football. We've caused the suspensions ourselves, and we've picked up injuries. That's football. There's no point in trying to make excuses. The players that came in are top players. Sean Cavan is the most cultural left foot in the country. Sean Gannon's the most successful player in the country. So we have top players coming in. There was no issue. Obviously, match fitness was a problem for them, but no excuses. I assume the talk of tonight sets a tone either way, whoever wins it. You don't
by the demeanour of you, seem to be buying into that.
In terms of, sorry.
Well, just the one of the talking points before the game was that Derry had to win to send a message early in the season, and put the message out there and whatever. Now that was outside talk, that wasn't them, probably just me. But if that is the talk, you don't seem to be buying into it. No,
look, we've been here before. You know it's a long season. We're 3 games in. I think last year we were 9 or 10 points behind at one stage. It's a long season. Let's see where we end up come the end.
Yeah, you have a lot of young talent there, a lot of good talent, and it looks like it's all coming together. Stephen Bradley, thanks for joining us on the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast.
Thank you.
This is the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. I'm joined on the pitch by Jamie McGonigle of Derry City. Things have calmed down here in the last while, Jamie, but out there tonight, I'm sure it was pretty raucous, wasn't it?
It was a brilliant atmosphere. Obviously, Rovers having the 7,500 fans or whatever it was on here, and the game was, there was a lot. We were under a lot of pressure there towards the end, but thankfully we could see it out.
Talk me through your goal.
The exact same nearly as the cup final. Grado gets slipped in behind and looks up, makes eye contact with me, and I know straight away he's going to pull it back, and it's only a matter of sweeping it in from there.
And that's the second week in a row that you've scored a similar type goal to that. Jordan last week with the similar type thing. The ball came across and he placed it rather than blasted it. Do you practice that move, or is it just something that comes natural to you as players, both yourself and Jordan? How does it work?
I think I'm not sure about Jordan, but for me, naturally as a striker, it's sort of whenever there's a cutback like that, the pace is sort of on the ball. It's only a matter of guiding it, because if you try and snatch at it, there's a good chance you're going to blaze over the bar. So for me, it just comes naturally, to be honest.
Are you a far cooler finisher now? Is that something you've learned at Derry City?
No, I think always growing up, I've always been a striker. I've always scored goals, and I always back myself whenever I get a chance. So no, I would say it's from long before.
Does it give you that bit more confidence? Is it even better when it's a big goal like that in such a big game and in an atmosphere like this?
Oh, definitely. It's always good to score big goals, but to me as a striker, I'm not great at it. It doesn't matter what the game is or anything. I just want to score and score and score. And
one thing that we saw from you tonight, well, we saw a lot of things from you tonight, all of them positive, was your work rate. You chased absolutely everything, including lost causes.
It's part of our DNA now in this team. You're hard working. You have to be first and foremost, especially against a team like Rovers. If you come down, you don't work. They're just going to outplay you, and they're going to win the game. So, that's something I've been working on, trying to get fitter and work harder in the game.
And you know as well that you've got players who will give you the service as a striker. How good is that, knowing that you don't have to drop deep all the time? You do when it's necessary, and we saw that again tonight. But you know that you'll get the service, and if you make the runs, you'll get the ball. How good is that?
Oh, it's brilliant, the quality of the midfield we have, and even when you look at some of the people it's missing out as well, like Cameron Dummigan, players like that, and you just know whenever you make a run, if you've made eye contact with them, you know you're getting it right to you. So it's brilliant for a striker, because you know if you move, you're going to get it.
And like we've already said, you have to run around the pitch. You do an awful lot of work. Patrick McElhenney seems to just pop up. He just seems to glide. Is that frustrating when you can see a guy like that with that much talent, and you have to work so hard to get to the ball, but it just seems to kind of get attracted to him?
No, it's all credit to Fats. No, he's a brilliant player, and we're lucky to have him. But no, he's been brilliant for us, and hopefully it continues.
You put in a shift tonight as well. I mean, you got good goals, but you had to do the hard stuff as well. Does that make this victory even more satisfying?
It does. See, whenever you're coming off the pitch tired and sore and that, but at least as long as you got the 3 points, it's all worth it.
And you're back in Dublin again on Monday night against UCD. Is that just about long enough a turnaround for you to rest and be 100% for that game, or would you rather a few days longer? How do players feel about these kind of 4-day weekends?
No, it's just part of it. You just have to get on with it. So it's important whenever that we recover right tomorrow and Sunday and get ready for Monday night.
And the fans, obviously, they were really up for this one, given the opposition and given what was at stake. I know it's early in the season, but for UCD, is that a harder one to motivate yourself for? Because you know the fans, they'll get behind you, but they won't be as vociferous. There won't be as many of them. The noise won't be as great. So as players, do you nearly have to lift yourselves a bit more for that?
Yeah, sort of. I can see what you're saying, but it's important for us within the dressing room. We've good motivators in the changing room, good leaders, great speakers, and I think we'll be ready come Monday night. It won't make a difference.
Jamie, a pleasure talking to you. Well done tonight. A great goal. Jamie McGonigle talking to the ExtraTime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Jamie, well done.
Thank you.
So that's all the reaction and analysis from here in Tallaght Stadium, where Derry City beat Shamrock Rovers by 2-1. Still to come, Declan Devine, the Bohs manager, on their defeat to Shelbourne. We'll also hear from Damien Duff. Neal Horgan will talk us through Cork City's 4-0 victory against UCD, and Mark Rossiter will tell us how Drogheda beat Sligo Rovers by 1-0. We'll also hear a bit more on the First Division action this evening, including Waterford's 1-0 defeat at home to Galway United. Dundalk, I think it's fair to say that this is the surprise of the night. Not so much that they won, but the margin of victory. They beat St. Pat's by 5-0 in Oriel Park. We'll hear from Greg Sloggett of Dundalk shortly. Hoban, Ainsley, Tulloch, Kelly and Malley with the goals for the Lily Whites. John Flanagan, the former Dundalk captain, was on commentary for LOI TV tonight, and afterwards sent us this voice note.
Just leaving Oriel Park here, Oisin, after what can really be described as one of the most surprising results of recent times in Oriel Park. I think everybody coming up expected a really, really stern test from St. Pat's after their promising start to the league campaign. Dundalk not having started really well at all, but from the very, very start of the game, Pats looked all over the place. They looked disjointed. Dundalk were 2-0 up within 10 minutes, not having to work very, very hard for their 2 goals. And Pats then came out in the second half, changed formation, went very, very attacking, and once again handed Dundalk a very, very simple third goal. Poor goalkeeping mistake. And then things just went from bad to worse. They lost their cool, got frustrated. Dundalk just sat back and hit them on the counter-attack and scored 2 more late goals. Disappointing from St. Pat's, from Tim Clancy's point of view. Dundalk did not have to work hard at all to get their opportunities. They were poor play or individual errors from St. Pat's. But credit to Dundalk, when those chances arose, they punished Pats, and it sets them up now nicely going into the game on Monday against Shelbourne. And I think from St. Pat's point of view, Monday can't come quick enough to try and rectify that game tonight. They'll just want to put that to bed as quickly as possible, move on and try and get the season back on the road.
For extratime.com's voice notes on a Friday evening with Greg Sloggett. Greg, probably one of the most comprehensive victories we've seen here during your time at Oriel.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. I just think it's a weight off the shoulders now just to get the first win on the board. I think, we've always known it of ourselves, but just the outside talk has just rolled us up there, and it's a big release of energy just to get that off our chest now and go and win the game. And
people looking like at a 5-0 scoreline, probably, I suppose after a performance like that, it's unfair to say it flattered you, but in a defensive midfield role you had a lot to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but we knew that they'd leave themselves exposed. The game was stretched in the first half, and we knew that would suit us because we knew they'd leave us with chances. And I don't think that the scoreline flatters us at all. I think we were clinical, which we needed to be. We needed to improve that aspect of our game, but I also think there was other moments in the game where we could have scored more. So, I'm under no illusions that we deserved to win by the scoreline that we did.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, like you said, he dominated in a way. He dominated, but in the second half there was a lot more space for Jamie Lennon. Did you find it there when they changed their shape with Jamie Lennon coming off at half time? Did you personally see, because that was the battle you were having in the first half, did it change it for you?
Well, I think we're up by a couple of goals at the start of the second half. They're having to throw caution to the wind to try and get something back in the game, and naturally there's going to be more space the opposite way. And I think we have no problems getting space, so it's great. Look, we're all delighted. Can't ask for more than that. And
then looking ahead to Monday's game, I suppose, look, the fact that it wasn't as much of a contest in the second half allowed both sides to maybe take a look at different shapes and different personnel ahead of Monday night's fixture.
Yeah, look, I don't think we thought too much about it during the game. I think it was just go and get more goals and go and take them to the sword, really. And we'll sit down tomorrow and we'll prepare for Monday and we'll be ready to go.
Perfect, Greg Sloggett. Listen, thanks a million.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Let's move from Oriel Park to Tolka Park, where Shelbourne got their first victory of the season, beating Bohs by 1-0. Dylan Connolly sent off for Bohs, while Levy got the only goal for Shelbourne after 76 minutes. They have been unlucky in their previous 2 games not to score, but they fixed that problem tonight through Levy. After the game, Ronan McNamara caught up with Damien Duff and first Bohs manager Declan Devine.
I think the decision for the sending off has ultimately cost us at least a point. I thought we were the team in the ascendancy in the second half. I thought it was even enough in the first half, but second half I thought we were the team in the ascendancy. It's a crazy decision. We asked our players all week not to get involved in anything, and that they'll be giving people an opportunity to send you off or pick up needless yellow cards. And yet again, there's 5 or 6 yellow cards and a sending off, and we haven't laid a finger on anyone. So disappointed that has cost us the game, but I'm very proud of the players in terms of energy they put on, especially when down to 10 men. We were very on the front foot, we were very brave, played a nice brand of football. A lot of players performed very well, so ultimately the points haven't went our way tonight, but I think there's other circumstances that have cost us.
It's just a moment of madness really from Dylan there down the right touch.
It's not, it's really not. Have a watch back at it, have a look back at it. It's not. It's their centre half that barges on the Dylan, which knocks out as a knock-on effect. So have a look at it. It's not. I've seen it.
Just with the tackle from JR, he kind of roars in his face after.
Just have a look at it. Honestly, just have a look at it. I'm not even going to answer anymore because I have a look at it. I seen it from 60 yards away. When I watch it on TV, it's a shambles of a decision.
Okay, and just one more, Declan, if you don't mind. You brought on James McManus at half-time, player you've spoken of quite highly, and he made a bit of a difference when he came on.
He was excellent. He's an excellent player. He gives you that creativity and that calmness on the ball. So, look, we take Paddy Kirk off because he's on the yellow card, and we knew coming into the game that with Dublin Derby, people are trying to make get noticed. We don't want to get down to 10 men, but if you watch sending off back, it's a mad decision, and it's ultimately cost us.
Cool. Thank you, Declan. Cheers.
Just jumping in to remind you that was Declan Devine, the Bohemians manager, speaking to ExtraTime.com's Ronan McNamara. Damien Duff, the Shels boss, was a man in demand after the game. He has been talking to the media collective about how he prepared his team for what he said would be a battle, and about Cian Levy, the 20-year-old from Ardee in County Louth, who's on loan to Shels from Reading and who scored a big goal in their victory against Bohs.
We're expecting a war of attrition. We can do patterns and plan things all week, how you want to win the game, but sometimes it's just a fight for 90 minutes and who's going to come up with that moment, and Cian Levy did. So scrappy affair, you could say. Yeah, I agree, but here, a brilliant, tense, exciting derby that I'm sure I was going to say everyone would enjoy, but most people in the ground.
Just talk through a little bit about Cian and also just the movement for the goal.
Well, Cian, listen, I'm so fond of him and admire him so much for coming over here. I think a lot of people turn their nose up at the Irish League when they look at loans. From England. So, listen, of course they do wonderful things over in England, but academy football, you're not going to grow there. This is a proper league, men's football. So he's come and he's made a bold decision. So I can't think highly enough of him for that. And listen, Cian on the edge of the box, I think as you've seen, shimmies, cripes, it's not something that you probably see in this league, just out and out dribblers, but that's what he is. I know him since when he was 14. He's been brilliant since he's come in. He's quiet, but here, once he's doing his talking on the pitch, I don't mind.
Kind of goal you would have scored.
Huh?
Kind of goal you would have scored.
I don't know about that, but listen, that's what Dublin derbies are, and tense, tight affairs, and who's going to come up with that magic. And you could say round 1, round 2, pats and drogs. We didn't quite do it. Should have potentially won the 2 games. We'd be sitting in a loftier position, but we didn't. But the lads stepped up to the plate tonight. Everyone amazing, and then Cian with a wonderful goal.
JR's tackle on Connolly, the turning point perhaps?
Listen, for sure, I've said that many times. You've got Mikey Johnson going in with the Irish team now, and he'll get 50,000 people off their seat with a dribble, but James McGlynn has done it for years as well, with a tackle, and that's what JR did tonight. Brilliant tackle. Obviously Dylan, I think he responded, and so it was a straight red, and of course it was a turning point. You're playing against 10 men. We still made hard work, but I think we still could have kept the ball better and backed ourselves more, but when it's tense, it's tight, it's nervy. Here, I'll give them a break.
A good night for Shels at Salka Park, beating Bohs by 1-0. You heard from Damien Duff and Declan Devine. Cork City enjoyed their first victory of the season, getting their first points of the season. 4-0 the final score against UCD at Turner's Cross. Healy, Crowley, Keating and Varian with the goals for City. Former Cork City fullback Neal Horgan watched this one, and from Turner's Cross he sent us this voice note.
Very happy Cork City fans going home tonight after an emphatic win over UCD. Coming into the game, people were saying it might be a 6-pointer, looking at the bottom of the table, but Cork City showed signs that perhaps they might climb higher than that this season. They started very well. Matt Healy scored a goal from a nice clever set piece corner. Ball was knocked to the edge of the box. He drove the ball low and hard into the corner of the net. Matt Healy actually was excellent throughout the game. Larkin Healy in goal for UCD kept them in it. The UCD back four under increasing pressure, defending into the shed end in Cork, made mistakes, and there were one-on-ones where Larkin Healy was able to keep UCD in the game up until just before half-time. The second goal that came for Dara Crowley, again from a corner, City being physically stronger than UCD all night. In the second half, City added 2 more goals, but in truth, they looked a lot better than UCD tonight, and Cork City fans who may have worried about where their team were going to finish on the night or in over the season will draw comfort tonight. 2 excellent contributions from Ethan Varian and Joe Brian Whitmarsh as substitutes bodes well for the Cork future this season. They were sparkling from the bench, to be honest. Varian scoring and setting up another one. City were very happy tonight. UCD looked off the pace a little, even though I'm sure Myler had them set up very well, and Cork just bossed them about, were very aggressive, got the goals when they needed, and 4,800 fans were predominantly Cork City fans, are going home very happy tonight. 4-0 to Cork City versus UCD in a frosty Turner's Cross, and a very happy, I'm sure, Dermot Usher, who's the owner of Cork City, seeing them really deliver at home a performance which I suppose they needed after a stuttering performance in their first game of the season against Bohs. So all in all, a great win, an excellent performance by Cork City, and they move on to Shamrock Rovers away next week.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and that was Neal Horgan who watched Cork City beat UCD by 4-0 at Weavers Park. Drogheda United continued their really strong start to the season. Remember, they got a 0-0 draw away to Shels on the first night, then they followed it up with a 1-0 draw at home to Shamrock Rovers. Tonight, or last night depending on when you're listening to this, they beat Sligo Rovers by 1-0. Adam Foley with the only goal of the game. Mark Rossiter was there. He was co-commentating for Ocean FM, and afterwards he sent us this voice note.
Evening, Oisin. Yeah, Weaver Park here, 1-0 Drogheda, fully deserved victory. They were relentless from the start. They were attacking, a lot of set pieces, getting the ball really wide. Freddie Draper led the line so well all night long. They played to his strengths, went direct. Darren Markey, Dale Rooney, Adam Foley, all in behind. You had the insurance policy there with Ryan Brennan and Gary Deegan. And, Sligo for the first half, I suppose they were playing up the hill. They couldn't get out. But in saying that, there was 10 corners in the first half. In saying that, Sligo created probably the 2 best chances of the first half, falling to Caelan Barlow. Nice little intricate play, attacking the back four, and managed to squeeze out shots. Collie McCabe with an unbelievable save from point blank. And then a second one that he shot, he managed to get it away, but unfortunately he shot it straight into his hands. Adam Foley did have a header from, I think it was a Dale Rooney cross, Darren Markey cross, one or the other. Cross McNicholas done really well. So finished out half time 0-0. Second half started exactly the same. They were relentless, kept going. McNicholas probably pulled off the save of the season from Weaver. Then you would have had Freddie Draper had a chance where Evan Ware managed up the second phase, put a ball back into the middle there, and volley, you put your house on him to score, and he puts it wide. And then Dale Rooney whips one in. I wasn't sure if it was a Nina Clancy OG or Adam Foley managed to get a flick, but McNicholas didn't get anywhere near it. And from there, it didn't change after that. They just kept going. If anybody was going to score a second, it was going to be Drogheda. And they were fully deserved victors on the night.
This is the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. Let's zip through what happened in the first division. Sean Kennedy got Kerry FC's first ever goal at home in the League of Ireland, assisted by the man who got their first ever goal away from home last week, Leo Gaxa. They got a 1-1 draw at home to Treaty United. Enda Kern getting the only goal for them. Wexford with a 3-0 victory against Athlone. Finn Harps with a 1-1 draw against Bray Wanderers at home, while Waterford, well, they've dropped points at home again. Last week they drew 1-1 with Longford. Tonight they've lost 1-0 to Galway United. Johnathan Higgins was on commentary duty for Galway Bay FM at the RSC, and from there he sent us this voice note.
It's been a good night, in fact a great night at the RSC for Galway United. The few hardcore faithful Galway United fans that have made the long trip down will go back up the road a lot happier. Great buzz in Galway United at the moment. 3 wins out of 3, but a big one tonight. And what was a beltering, booming, hugely loud RSC at the start of the game. You could hear a pin drop towards the end. Galway United, a great victory, and nobody's going to count their laurels from Galway United perspective yet in terms of the supporters and the optimism that is at the start of the year, but it is really exciting. And Galway, as we said, 3 out of 3, 9 points, and they have a new cult hero. I don't know what it is, but called Galway United and US superheroes. But Vincent Borden, it's 3-3 by the big US guy, and he's already becoming a bit of a cult hero. But Galway will be very, very happy, so pleased, and showing a bit of grit. And I think fans now starting to believe that there is a bit of a solidness to the team, maybe a different type of edge. And it was the second half was, you could hear a couple of bars of the fields of Athenry, but yeah, no, exciting times for Galway United. And it could be a great season yet, but a long way to go. But for now, Galway headed back up the road. It's been an eventful week, but they go back up with a win, and maybe even having a Supermax on the way.
So that's it for the extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, coming to you from Tallaght Stadium, which is almost empty now. Don't forget the Women's National League kicks off tomorrow. There are fixtures across the country at 2 o'clock. Galway United hosting Wexford Youths. Shelbourne, the champions, up against Cork City. Danny Murphy has been talking up his team, so it'll be interesting to see what improvement they will make ahead of this season. At 5 o'clock, Sligo Rovers take on Shamrock Rovers, and their manager, Collie O'Neill, was on the extratime.com podcast earlier in the week. Did a feature piece and a long piece with Luke and Dave, so that's well worth checking out. Treaty United taking on Bohs also at 5, and at Lone Town meeting Peamount at 7 o'clock. Those two will see themselves as title contenders. There are fixtures on Monday night in the League of Ireland Premier Division. Check out extratime.com for the detail, and of course you can read all about tonight's matches, and you can get the previews of those matches on extratime.com. As always, we welcome your feedback, good, bad or indifferent. Best place to find me is Twitter at Oisin Langan. From Tallaght Stadium, from myself, Oisin Langan, it is good night and good luck.